So, let's do a little snap spring. Right. Getting back to do some more painting to round out the week. So I have this thing. Have not been able to find my art box, but I did find this, and this is actually pretty cool. Let me show you what I got here. I'm not really sure what this is, but it's got these little sub-containers in it. And it pretty much perfectly fits my army here. So I'm probably going to use it for like a travel case. I think it's some kind of like drooly. It looks like one of those things, like a bead. Something that you'd store beads in or something. I don't know, but I think it's nice. I think it's neat. I've got enough space to have a dreadnought and a rhino in here, and they fit comfortably. I could probably honestly figure out some way to fit this big fucking guy in here somewhere. Well, maybe not, but maybe one day. I'll take him out for a second. We're going to keep painting our chaos guys up. Will he fit? He does fit. Look at that. Just without the flag, so I'll have to figure out what he looks like with the flag on. I'm basically going to have to bite the bullet and just buy the stuff I lost. A new sprue cutter, a new tube of white and red. But right now, here are the guys we've gotten done. And I'm kind of realizing, so the Chaos Marines, they have a lot of like pointy edges, particularly around their pauldrons, their arms, and their boots. And that's mostly, I think, so you have something to paint with that copper color, because otherwise these guys, very basic looking, even with the copper. There's just not a whole lot of places you can really embellish. Like, I'm thinking of putting some trim, maybe on their elbows and along their feet, just to kind of, I don't know, give them some kind of definition, because otherwise they're very boring, I guess. But I don't know. I like how these guys turned out. They turned out pretty decent. I need to fix Beaky here. Poor Beaky. Like, he's the coolest of my guys, and you can't see his helmet because of his stupid gun being, I don't know what he's doing here, trying to aim it, I guess. I don't know. Again, this was one of my friend's models, so this is not my fault. I think we're going to paint the Terminators today. I'd feel a lot better about these guys if I had the Terminators finished already. So a bit of a thing to discuss concerning this army, and I hadn't realized this until after last stream, and I went back and looked it up, but I'm honestly short again. So previously, and it's kind of weird, it's depending on who you talk to at right now, which is really weird considering I'm going through apps that are supposed to calculate this stuff for you. Right now, the Warhammer 40k app is telling me that the army as I have set up right now, which is 3 squads of Legionnaires, Terminators, a Rhino, and a Dreadnought, and a Chaos Lord, is 950 points, which is pretty much perfect. That's exactly how I'd want to be. But if I go through Battlescribe, and I believe Battlescribe, where they're getting their math, is they're applying the latest batch of balance patches, particularly the point changes, so a lot of things have dropped in point price. These guys have dropped, the Terminators dropped, or the Dreadnoughts dropped, the Rhinos dropped, so a lot of things have gone down in points to try and even or balance things out. So Battlescribe has applied that. The 40K app has apparently not yet. And I'm thinking the full free thing's kind of coming to a close, so maybe that's why they haven't yet. So as it stands, according to Battlescribe right now, I have 885, I believe, which, you know, isn't a terrible number. I'm fine with that. If these guys were staying Ultramarines, though, they'd be like 660 or something, which is pretty absurd for an army of this size. So I've been playing around with some ideas. I have basically two options. I do not have the points to buy a spare Terminator and make this a team of 6. I can't do that. I can buy a spare Chaos Marine. I've been kind of thinking about that. I might just go and get a single off eBay of an actual Chaos Marine, not just Ultramarines painted as Chaos Marines, but an honest-to-goodness, genuine article. And, you know, I kind of like that idea. Like, I could get a extra heavy weapon, I could get a plasma gun, I could get a heavy bolter, I could get a las cannon. You know, I could kind of flesh out one of these squads. Like, one squad doesn't have any special weapon. It's just like 5 bolter dudes. And it's kind of, I'm not really sure what I'm doing with them yet. I'm just kind of thinking like they're going to be skirmishers or something. Flankers, I don't know. Holding down objectives or something like that. I'm not sure what I should do with this, because I think that's an Imperial symbol. I'm not sure what to do about a lot of this stuff. So that's one option, is I can just go and buy one Marine for like $15, or for $20, I can buy, again, another Terminator, and then this guy can become a Lord in Terminator armor and lead these guys, and that would actually give them an absurd amount of bonuses. One of his abilities is like the regular Chaos Lords. He gets one free strat, which I believe is just battle strats at this point. I don't remember. But still, for Terminators, that's really good. And then he can halve damage that the unit's taking, which, like, is obscene. Like, not reducing it by, like, a certain number, halving it. And I'm not really sure where the math falls on that, if they'd say round up or round down. I'm assuming rounding up, because that would just be unfair otherwise, you know. But yeah, a Terminator Lord would really give these guys a good advantage, which is something I think I need, because this little outfit right here is basically my entire anti-armor group. Otherwise, I have like the missile launcher, which I think is like strength 9, and then I have the Melta on the Dreadnought, which is like strength 8 or something. I don't know. It's like I don't have the best anti-armor in the world, so having these guys being able to drop in on something big and punch it to death would definitely probably help me out, and giving them a Lord to lead them would probably make them more survivable. So I'm probably going to purchase a man. I'm probably going to get a Chaos Terminator. Like, anything I'm going to buy, it's probably going to be a Chaos thing, just so I'm not like, I can actually say there is someone in this army doing the thing he's supposed to be doing, and not just a converted model that I don't feel like getting rid of. So yeah. I'm also kind of hesitant. Like, Space Marines have been going through a huge thing right now, and it's not the best thing on the planet either. Like, a whole bunch of data sheets are being dropped from Index. Get out of here. I'll turn that light off later. Their strategies have been nerfed and then redone and nerfed over and over and over. And this is all just kind of like in the in light of their codex coming out soon. So I'm changing these guys out because I'm hoping that I can actually sit down and play a game before the Chaos Marine codex comes out and these guys get the exact same treatment. And again, that's also why I'm not pulling the trigger. I would love to have an army that's nothing but cultists and guardsmen and what are those guys called? The Dark Commune. Just a regular Lost in the Damned human army of Chaos Worshippers. But I have, in the back of my mind, this gut feeling that as soon as the Codex comes out, we're going to get Mere Mortals again. And boom. Any chance that we had of a non-marine army is just gone. So, I would love to go get the Beastmen, because the Beastmen kill box is really cool. But I'm not going to go get the Beastmen if I do not have an army that will support them. Because that is dumb. I'm a bit confused too, what exactly a boarding patrol or boarding action is and why they have a separate box and why there's absolutely no information online pertaining to these boxes anymore. It's just gone. It's just all gone. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why it is, in fact, gone. I would assume that the kill team, so there's kill teams, there's boarding actions, there's combat patrol, which is its own thing now. There's just regular ass 40k, there's the Leviathan box, which apparently is its own unique thing right now. It's just, I feel like there's almost too many different ways to play and interpret the rules, which are kind of if everything was a little more uniform, it would be fine. If it was just 40k, but at a 500 point army with some interesting fluff rules, that would be fine. But there are legitimately units in some of these combat patrol lists that are not in 40k. If you go and look at Blood Angels, they don't have Terminators on the Blood Angels roster. You can get the Terminators out of the box in the combat patrol box, but you can't use them because they don't have any rules for them. I don't know if they're legacied or what, but they straight up do not have indexes, which makes no sense to me. I'm not really sure what you'd call my technique for painting these guys anymore. I'm not lathering him with paint, but I'm also not dry brushing. I'm kind of using the flat parts of his armor to kind of smear out the excess paint, and then where there are texture points, by then I've already got a nice kind of somewhat dry coat. I'm not thinning. I'm not sitting here with my cup of water is right back here. There's my baby jar of water. As you can see, it's completely clear. I haven't touched it yet. But you can see his fist there, despite having 3 layers, has not lost a lot of detail, and it'll become more apparent as the paint continues to dry. I'm painting over these skulls. I'm hesitant to do that, but I think I'm going to paint them bronze. I'm not really sure what the Chaos Marine philosophy is on skulls. I know that the Empire reveres them as some kind of symbol of humanity's beauty, and that might be okay for chaos, but why not? I don't know. I'm missing a lot of like, for having books and books and books and shit on all this stuff, I'm missing like some details that I would like to know. Like, I want to give these guys names, you know? I want to give them little names and ranks, and if I ever do sit down and play a game, I would like to be able to kind of tell a story of like aspiring champion HoobleHap shot his bolter, but he missed, you know, that kind of shit. Because that's cool. Like, a narrative is fun to develop. But I don't know what these guys even call themselves. Like, regular Chaos or regular Space Marines call each other brother, you know. That's kind of a way of addressing one another and identifying each other. But do these guys still go by brother? Are they still, like, do they consider themselves battle brothers? Or are they, like, more admitted to the whole idea of they can just fuck each other over whenever, so the whole loyalty thing is kind of out the window. I was thinking Legionnaire. I kind of like that term, and I was also thinking, since it's my dudes, I can kind of make up shit as I want. And these are still technically legions, even if they are organized into chapters and shit. So yeah, I was thinking I was just going to call them Legionnaires, and then aspiring chapter or champions and lords and all that, you know. There's a lot of fucking bits I'm missing. I could probably stand to have a new lamp. Like, I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm not in the best position. I'm currently looking over my phone, trying to thread the needle and get some light from the lamp while still having the model in the frame, so you're not just watching my thumb the entire time. Like, what I'd really like to have is like an overhead camera pointing down, or like a GoPro or something, and then I can have the light wherever I need it, which is preferably also looking straight down with me, rather than off to the side. But I definitely don't stream enough these days, and I'm definitely nowhere close to even making a cent to actually justify such an expenditure. What's Vinny angry about? Oh my god, that's a Scorpion tank. That's cool as fuck. I need to play AC6. It looks like a lot of fun. I want to make a Pat Labor bot and give it a shotgun and arrest criminals for their excessive drug use. Call it Pat Labor Vice. I'm getting that damn pipe. You know what I think is a really underdeveloped and underutilized thing in the whole mecha genre of games and anime and shows and shit is the multi-crew mech. Like, if you watch Mobile Suit Gundam, the gun tank had 2 crew members. You know, like, some of the bigger mobile armors in Gundam had it, but not, like, most IPs are shy about that. They want it to be the story of the hotshot pilot who single-handedly saves the day, and you can't really do that if you got more than one person in the thing. And I think there's a kind of a point irony to that, because mecha as a whole gets a lot of its reference material from aerial dogfights and all of that, you know, hotshot pilots and aces and all. But most of modern jets, like the F-16, the F-14, they have multiple crew members. There's a pilot, and then there's a RIO in the plane. You know, and they have 2 different jobs, like almost like a tank crew. So I think, like, especially if you're going for, like, with BattleTech and the whole, like, neural uplink thing, there's definitely a lot of potential to be derived if you have several people linked into a single machine attempting to handle a high-stress situation. Okay, I think he's good, unless I'm missing. He's a little bit here. Just a dollop. And you're kind of beginning, like, I can't go back over these guys much more than this. Like, you can kind of see his face. Doesn't look terrible, but some of the details are beginning to get covered in paint. So I am still planning to eventually hole these out. I would like to have storm bolters with actual holes in them. Oh, I didn't need to do that. Get rid of this god-awful red, too. I am not going to miss that fucking paint jar, that's for damn sure. I don't know what the hell that was. Liquid plastic, almost, is what it seemed like. So yeah, I finished the stream, and then I think it was either the next day or, like, immediately after, I went and started pulling up some pictures of modern Chaos Marines to kind of get some more reference to where their coloration is and all that. And even the bolters have large, like, external lines to them and, like, additional plates that you can paint with the bronze or the gold or whatever you choose. And it's just like it's an interesting coping mechanism for giving players, like, giving your builders something to work with, you know, because otherwise you just kind of shit out of luck with a bunch of linear, smooth models with a lot of different places. Like, Space Marines are brightly colored for a reason. I've kind of come to that conclusion. Who was it? These guys, yeah. I was going to try and give them fleshy arms, but I don't think that's going to work. So we're just going to paint that over. And we're going to, like, probably the elbow plate and these wrists are going to be bronze. And then, like, maybe, like, a knee. Well, this guy doesn't have a kneecap, but, like, the trim along the boot line will be bronzed too. He really doesn't have a knee plate. Who else says, like, he's got knee plates? Huh. That's weird. Why does he not have a kneecap? What else, this guy? Get rid of this G.I. Joe-ass shit here. Don't get me wrong. I like the idea of, like, the Marines having exposed bits. You know, like, sometimes a piece of power armor breaks and they honestly can't replace it, so they just go without. Which I think fucks with the whole thing, but, you know, they have the power of chaos, and half the time you see dudes without pieces of power armor, they're fucking possessed anyway, like the Eightfold. So they're not worried about it anymore. Because they've got demon strength and demon anger to help them lift heavy things. I was going to stream last night, but despite several things, like my daughter never fucking sleeping, we had a weird power outage. I was getting the kids ready for a bath, and I was on the fucking struggle bus because we had just gotten Ring Fit, and me being an idiot, thinking, oh, I've got military experience, I'm fit, I throw heavy things at my job every day. Vinny's very mad. Oh, he got fucked in the corner, didn't he? I need to watch this boss fight. I should be watching this video, not just having it on the back. I did the extreme difficulty on Ring Fit, and I didn't realize that extreme translates to like 30 reps of every exercise, including squats. And if you don't like hold the squat long enough, like I kept releasing just like a half second too early and it wouldn't count it. So I ended up like not just doing the 30 squats that the exercise needed, but I was doing like 50 or 60 at a time, and I lost the ability to walk. So I was like hobbling and struggling to get two kids ready for a bath after supper, and then the fucking power went out. Like it would go off and then come back on and then go off and come back on. It did it like 4 times. And as I was getting like scrambling to get things together before we lost the last bits of light for the day, like 4 fire trucks kind of blasting down the road. So I'm pretty sure someone ran into a transformer or a power line or something. It wasn't off that long. It was like maybe off an hour. It was just off long enough for me to have to like give 2 babies a bath by candlelight while almost paraplegic, which was just, the best time. Anyway, so that's why I didn't end up streaming last night. I was excessively dead. I'm not as bad today. Like, it wasn't anything I haven't dealt with before, Like, I've pushed myself to exhaustion levels previously, so I kind of know what it feels like. The issue is, like, your brain sends the signal to your legs to move, and your legs move, but you're not getting that feedback back that they're moving, almost like they're numb. So I would just kind of have to like operate and use my upper body on the assumption that my legs are in fact moving, which, it worked. Again, I've done this before. This is not my first rodeo pushing myself to the point of muscle failure. It's just annoying, it makes everything at least 5 minutes longer, getting up, sitting down, getting up and down basement stairs, that kind of shit. But Ring Fit's fun. Like, I could imagine a like an arena style brawl or something where you have to you can only attack people by squatting or by doing reps or something. And I can imagine that would be really addictive, but I was talking about it in a Discord server, and someone pointed out that would be like excessively dangerous because people will get competitive and push themselves past their limit and end up injuring themselves, which, valid. That's a very valid point, but I don't know. I'm kind of on the side of like, if people are motivated to move and exercise to the point where they wear themselves out, I think that's far better than them not doing it. But for what it is, really, like, the Ring Fit's a pretty decent little compromise on like pre-existing tech. Like, it just uses Joy-Cons in a certain configuration. Like, that's all it's really doing. It hooks into the... It's like a steel band that will, like, with a couple foam grips, and it will, like, push back against you if you use it. And it's got, like, some kind of haptic feedback in it, so it actually picks up what you're doing. And then just a leg strap for the other Joy-Con. And that's all it really is. And it works. Honestly, it feels better to me than, like, the Wiimotes or the Kinect ever did. You know, maybe it's just, like, that kind of technology is finally getting to a point where it's cheap enough that you can have something decent and still be affordable. Or at least somewhat affordable. I don't know, Joy-Cons are, like, the Ring Fit's fucking expensive, and it's always been expensive, but, you know, it's not like buy a whole game system that only does that one thing. Something I didn't realize is that there's a damn IR sensor on the bottom of the Joy-Cons. I never even looked at the bottom of the Joy-Cons. I don't know how I missed that, but, like, it's got an IR sensor, and apparently it can pick up your heartbeat, which is weird. I have no idea what kind of biometrics Nintendo can collect off that, or if they are collecting off it, but I don't know, weird. I've never seen those used in anything but that. But I think, like, I'm hoping that they're gonna make something else. I hope it's just not Ring Fit, you know, that uses that ring. It would be nice to see something that also, like an adventure game or something that uses the system. Nintendo's kind of got that bad habit of, like, they'll make this really interesting device and use it for, like, one thing, and you never hear about it again. Like, a good example being the Game Boy. The Game Boy Color had a device that you could hook it into a cell phone network in, like, 1998, 2001. Stupidly early for that time, you know. Back way, way, way before wireless internet was even a thing, you know. And it was only in Japan, but, like, 3 games used it, and one of, like, the only one that was actually significant was Pokemon Crystal. And I cannot for the life of me find any information on what exactly it did in Pokemon Crystal, if it did anything. So there's that. Boktai had those really interesting, had that, oh shit, you can't be moving. I don't have any glue. Had that sunlight sensor. We never got anything else that could have used that. Apparently there was a period, so you know how Game Boy Colors all had an IR thing on the top of them, right? You could use that for some kind of, like, very limited communications between game cartridges, like the mystery gifts in Pokemon. That was apparently a big enough innovation that prior to it, there were specific cartridges, and I actually saw one of these in the wild. I'm kind of bummed I'm kind of bummed I didn't go and get it, but there was a copy of Robopon, and it's like, it struck me as odd when I saw it because it was a Game Boy Color cartridge, one of the black ones, but it was huge. Like, it had a bunch of shit. It was like 1.5 times the size of a regular cartridge. I was trying to figure out what the hell that was. That was the IR sensor. It had a built-in one in the game cartridge. And some of the old Game Boy, like when the Game Boy Color was just coming out, and you had some of those black cartridges, and you also had some, like, DX remakes. Those were the games that were doing that, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I've watched somebody do a thing on the Pokemon TCG Game Boy game, and there is one NBC at a desk. I couldn't tell you where, but her whole job was this IR gift stuff, or IR communications, and if you went up and talked to her with the Game Boy and a Game Boy cartridge, she would tell you, sorry, come back with the Game Boy Color so we can actually do this. Because it was a function that was only for the Game Boy Color and not the Game Boy, which is neat. It's cool. I haven't heard about that. The last one I've got for you, and some people may know this, but the Super Game Boy player for the Super Nintendo. Apparently, every single Game Boy Color cartridge has some little thing. And I went through this. This was the coolest thing back when I still had an SNES and a Super Game Boy. So, if you put in a regular Game Boy cartridge, it will load up the game, and there's usually some kind of data. Like, it's the form of borders or an extra color palette that the Super Game Boy can access. And I don't know if it's in the Super Game Boy itself or if it's in the data on the cartridge or where this is coming from. But apparently every single Game Boy cartridge or Game Boy Color cartridge has this thing to identify what's in, and if it sees that it is a Super Game Boy, it has a special screen specifically for saying, sorry, this isn't, like, you can't use this cartridge, please take it out and put in a Game Boy cartridge. And it's not just like a little message, it's like some of these have little animations, some of them have a little like sprite artwork in them. It's a really cool thing. I wish I had recorded it before I sold everything, but it's a neat little facet that you just really wouldn't think about, you know? Like, the Game Boy era was so, like, such a rapid flux of changes and everything. It like, there was a legit point when you had two different game consoles, the Super Nintendo and the N64, communicating with the exact same cartridge and the exact same Pokemon cartridge. Potentially, you could do it, like, just take it out and pop it in one after the other, which it just tickles me pink, you know? Say bye to the Barbasol sword. I'm pretty sure no one's going to miss that. Like, I liked it, but I don't think 40K is an environment where anyone can appreciate such debauchery. But yeah, because the 90s was like this rapid ingress of going from the 16-bit to 32-bit to 64-bit eras. You had the simple, humble Game Boy started in 1889, right up to 2001, 2002, when there's still cartridges being made. No, you know what? I guess technically the GameCube could play them too. So yeah, so right up until the Switch came out, you could still play Game Boy games on 3 separate cartridges or 3 separate game systems. Really kicked myself that I didn't ever go out and get a GameCube, especially when they were stupidly cheap at the end of that generation. Like, I've got a photo saved for the future as a lesson when Walmart, I think it was a Walmart, picture of a Walmart with just a box or a shelf of GameCubes for like $40, brand new, you know. Like, I could go back, I would go and get a GameCube and a Game Boy player, and I would pick up copies of Emerald and Fire Red and Leaf Green with that neat Wavebird wireless thing. Instead of passing on them. I was really not impressed when they came out because I still had the originals and I didn't really see the need to play them again. I also didn't really like what they did with the maps and all that. Like, one of the reasons I like Kanto so much as a region is because it feels very open and just kind of empty and, very plains-like, where I am in rural Midwest, it feels very much like that aesthetic. And I don't know, they closed off a lot of the routes with trees and shit, and never really enjoyed that. Oh, he beat the scorpion thing. I'm gonna have to go pick up a round too. Like, I could leave a lot of the straps and the buckles and the pouches on these guys black, but I'm desperate for any kind of coloration. Plus, you could kind of like make the argument that, you know, as far as things like buckles and belts and leather that the Chaos Marines are using, they're probably using human flesh, let's be honest. They're weird like that. Now, honestly, I think regular Marines would probably be also weird like that too. I'm kind of digging, like, it seems like in the fiction and the lore, like, humanity slowly becoming the creepy, fanatical alien race to the Tau, where they're so fucking ancient and so fucking weird, it like defies their logic. And I kind of dig that. Like, there's absolutely no reason why anyone in the Imperium should be regarded as rational or sane by our standards, or definitely by Tau standards. Because at this point, we're not operating on measures of sanity, we're operating on faith to keep the Chaos Hordes away, or I guess they are. I'm doing the opposite because I enjoy it. And honestly, like, really, I do sympathize far more with Chaos, like, especially with the Marines. Like, it just seems like such a better life for these guys in particular. You know, these genetically altered super soldier things. Like, in the Imperium, they don't really get agency. They're death machines. They follow orders, and if they don't, they have the Inquisition coming after them. Or if they do follow orders but see something they shouldn't, the Inquisition comes after. Like, you know, it's like, that's not much of a life. But when you have patron gods that are ambivalent at worst and downright malicious at best, it's like, if you really just don't have any obligation to do anything, it seems like. Especially if you're powerful. Like, if you've got a good bunch of dudes who are loyal to their own legion, you really don't even have to sit in the Eye of Terror even. You can just kind of hang out in the Imperium on the fringes of a known space and do some piratey business, you know? And I think really just like not having just Chaos Marines, but like Renegade Marines be a separate entity would be really good for the universe. Like, the guys who aren't in the Eye of Terror, almost like the Blackhearts, you know, like the legitimate pirates need to have their own kind of distinction, because they aren't worshiping chaos, and they might even give a shit about chaos. They may just not want to follow the Imperial's orders. Kind of losing him. His face is slowly melting into layers of paint. But even like as slaves of the chaos, they have a lot more agency than they seemingly would in the Imperium. God, I'm never gonna be free of this fucking rat, am I? Good God. What an abomination. Oof. I would love a setup where my back isn't killing me after 20 minutes. That would be great. Even if I push the chair and I'm facing straight down, I don't know, my posture's still kind of fucked. Not to jinx myself, but it is currently, what time? 10:30, and I've not heard a peep out of the bedroom, so I think the babies are sleeping soundly this evening. I think I've talked on it before, but like, no one really cues you in. Like, you want parenting advice. You want, like, if you're expecting a baby soon and you want some like free parent advice, here you go. All right. I'm thinking, so between newborn and like 3 months, the kid's gonna be sleeping a lot. That's basically its little job. Is it's going to eat, it's gonna poop, you're gonna change it, it's gonna stare at you, and it's gonna eat, and that's its whole day. It's gonna do this in a cycle of like 2 to 3 hours every day, and that's healthy, and that's fine. Between 3 to, I want to say, 9 months is the honeymoon period, the fun period. Like, they're going to start spacing out their sleep schedule. They're going to sleep longer. It's almost going to seem like they can sleep through the night, They're going to begin interacting. They're going to start smiling, they're going to start giggling, it's going to be a cute thing, a cute little bum. And you're going to be thinking, oh yeah, I'm good at this fucking shit. And then the teething starts. And immediately after the teething is the sleep regression. And if you're really lucky, by that point, your kid will be taking a pacifier. And you want this to happen because if they are taking a pacifier, you can help. That pacifier will help soothe them back to sleep when they wake up and they're upset and all they want to do is have something in their mouth that they can chew on. If you're not lucky and that kid doesn't want a pacifier, the chew toy's mom. and she will be up every hour to 2 hours again, between 9 months to a year, trying to get baby to sleep when baby just wants to have something in its mouth to help it sleep because its teeth hurt because they're coming in, and that's not fun. Cutting teeth is painful. It's going to look like they have a double ear infection every week. It's not. It's just teething. I've gotten that exact message from my doctor God knows how many times. So that will save you trips to the doctor and doctor bills because they will charge you every single time you take it. Oh, fuck, what else? Sleep regression is they're changing up their sleeping pattern. And most times they're also changing where they're sleeping to. Like they're going from a crib to in your bed next to you because they're big enough to actually not get crushed if you roll over on them. Which again, I don't recommend doing. But they mostly just want to snuggle and they want to cuddle, and that will keep them asleep. And then after a year, like between a year to a year and a half, they will finally beginning to end that. Most of their teeth will have been coming in by that point. You can start trying to get them in their own bed, and good luck to you. It's not worked for me yet. My kid's 3. He's getting there, but it's really just on the kid and how much nurturing they need. And there's honestly, like, my nephew, I think, was about 5 before he slept in his own bed on his own. And before you say it, because every parent says, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let my kids sleep with me. I'm going to get a full 8 hours of sleep every night. Babies, if given the option between giving up and just accepting their new accommodations or crying and screaming all night, they will cry and scream all night. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. I've witnessed it. 9 times out of 10, the only time they will stop is when they've actually exhausted themselves and they pass out. But as soon as they get a little bit of recharge, they'll wake back up and start it all over again. And then that affects your next day if you're a stay-at-home parent like me, because they are tired, they are cranky, and they want to sleep. But you can't let them sleep then because that fucks up the whole schedule. So I don't really know what advice I can give you, except there's going to be a point in your life when, like the newborn era, where you're awake every hour to 2 hours to feed and to change and to comfort, basically reasserts itself until they're sleeping through the night, assuming they're not sick, because if they're sick, they're just fucked anyway. I'm going to keep his head red since I don't have any other red paint, and I want to keep his head red. So yeah, there you go. Some free parenting advice that I've not heard anyone else ever tell me. So maybe that'll save you one day. Or it won't save you, but you know it's coming, I guess, is better. You can expect it. I've talked to a few young men at work about what my situation is these days, and I think they're kind of shocked. Like, being in a marriage itself is a bit of a culture shock on its own if you're not prepared for it, because you are largely, at that point, liable and responsible for another person's well-being. And that can come as a bit of a change to you, especially if you're used to being solo, And I'll give you an example, like just house care, house chores, and all of that stuff. Like, If I didn't want to, I would not have to do all the chores. My wife has told me multiple times I don't have to do all the chores. But if I don't do the chores, she has to find time on the weekend when I'm not home and she has the kids to try and get the chores done. And it's like there's a lot less freedom in a marriage for the simple fact that you, as a person, cannot just fuck off anymore, you know? Like, you have to look after your spouse. You have to be responsible for your spouse's health. You have to understand when, like, because sometimes they just don't want to fucking do something themselves. And, like, if they're not feeling well, or if they feel like they have been a burden to you, they may not let on. You know, they may try and act like nothing is wrong when something is wrong, and you have to try and cue into that. And you're also expected to, like, make decisions for them that they may not like but may be best for them, like scheduling appointments for the doctor if they are not feeling well but they absolutely refuse to go. That's one big thing. It's like, I will not go to the doctor. I don't care if my foot's falling off. I will duct tape it back on, but my wife will make me doctor appointments and I will go to them. Because at that point, it's not about me, you know, it's about her. So, hopefully, if you are a young man or young lady and you're listening to this in the background one day and you have these thoughts or these questions or concerns, hopefully someone will get something out of this, you know. Like, another big thing is sleep. Like, my wife likes to have as much sleep as possible, especially now. Like, she cannot get a full night's sleep until my daughter is done nursing. Like, I could let her chew on me, but she would not enjoy it, and it would just cause more issues. So my wife is the only parent possible, which means that she is not getting nearly as much sleep as she would like. So she imparts to me the importance of getting sleep, and I am a person who has never given any concern to sleep, nor do I like sleep, nor do I want sleep. And I don't really feel like I need a lot of sleep to function as a person, especially when I'm not at a workplace or in a professional setting. So I'll stay up, and she'll gripe at me about that, and we will get in the same tiff over and over. But that's just part of being married, you know? That's part of making those decisions that you may not want to make. You know, you may want to stay awake till 3 in the fucking morning or whatever. But because you have a wife and children and people who are relying on you, you have to do the right thing. You know, like workplace, like, you can't just tell your boss to fuck right off, even though you want to say that you're the toughest customer on this side of fucking New Mexico, you know. I can't tell you how many fucking people at work just, like, have this fucking tough guy inferiority complex. Like, just shut the fuck up and do your job, for God's sakes. Anyway, but if you have a family, you may not just be able to get to tell the boss to fuck off and then you go home and get on Indeed and upload your latest resume, you know, and sit there and live off your savings, because you may not have savings at that point because you're buying groceries for 5 other people. You know, that kind of shit. Like, growing up really isn't a matter of age, in my opinion. It's entirely on the responsibilities you have to your family unit, you know? And I think that's, like, something that people miss. Like, we consider age and maturity to be signs of social status and all that shit, when actually it comes from the difficult decisions we have to make and the places that we put ourselves, you know? Like me, I'd love to buy a gun every month, but I haven't bought a gun in probably close to a decade now, because all that money goes to babies. And guess what? We're going to probably try for a third at some point, and that decade is probably going to stretch into about 3 or 4 before I ever get to go into a gun store and feasibly look at something to take home again, if ever, considering what's going on these days. Same with fucking these dickheads here. I haven't bought a new box of these in probably since 2012, and for the fucking reason, like, one box of fucking Space Marines is like a month of gas for one of the vehicles we drive. Or a fucking week of groceries. Or a quarter of the damn mortgage, you know? It's like $60 is not nothing to me, you know? I can't just toss that away and say, oh, we'll be fine. So yeah, there you go. There's my fucking life wisdom. Life sucks, then you die. The end. I think it's a lot easier to paint over white with black than black with white. I don't even know how I wanted to do these heads yet. I was thinking, like, one of the things I like about the Loyalist Marines and the regular Marines is they, like, have colors on the helmets to indicate veteran status and rank. And I was going to do something like that for these guys. I was going to keep their heads, like, I was going to paint their heads or like red. Like, all of these guys back here who are wearing helmets, they're all going to be red colored, like this fella here. But that's not really, where was I going with this? Again, there isn't a whole lot of intrinsic information on the day-to-day in chaos and the warp and all of that, you know? So a lot of this I'm just making up on my own. I really like the Blood Angels, how they do the opposite of the Ultramarines, where Ultramarines uniform color is blue, and then their veterans are red. The helmets are red, whereas Blood Angels are red and their veterans' helmets are blue. Or at least that's how they used to be. And I dig that. I like that. But I don't think every single chapter had something like that, so it's kind of like lost. Though I think the Crusaders, not the Crusaders, what the fuck are those guys called? Fuck, I lost it. I remember. I should know them because they're like one of my favorite. God damn it, what the fuck are they called? The black guys, anyway. They have a whole bunch of weird, unique units in their outfit. Okay, so that's it for the precursory black. Let me touch up these guys again before I give this paintbrush a well-deserved rest. Fuck. Again, there's just some bits I miss because of my lighting.
This field is begging for a pile bunker. Try it.
I've heard the pile bunker is obscenely good. I was also going to use their pauldrons that kind of indicate This is tentative because I'm not really sure what marks I'm gonna be using on them. But I was gonna use this pauldron here to kind of indicate exactly what mark they're using and what their intent is. So like, if a unit, say a corn unit, or a mark of corn, their pauldron would be red, or Slanesh would be like a pink or off red or something, and Nurgle green, you know. It'd be kind of nice if Slanesh was actually yellow. I think that'd be a much better color for that, because then you'd have a much clearer color indicator. It'd be primer, you know. So instead of being like green, blue, pink, red, it would be green, blue, yellow, red, you know. Though I guess you could use purple. Now that I think about it, a lot of their Slaneshi stuff is purple in actuality. He's looking all right. I don't know what this is. Like, there are some things here, like this hole looks like I bored it out. Like he took a shot to the chest or something. But I don't really know what I did there. I would like to kind of make that like a battle scar kind of thing. I think that would be cool. But I need to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with that, or like how to indicate that that was in fact like that's battle damage. I was thinking maybe just making it metal, like his armor would be black and then the inside of it would actually be metal, like the unfinished scrape being pulled out or something. But I don't know. We'll see. I think I already painted this guy a few times, haven't I? Yeah, Beaky definitely needs a red helmet just to make him pop out a little bit more, because he's hiding behind his fucking gun. Then, which guy? I think it was this guy. He's still got some blue shining through, especially up in these little areas that are hard to get to. So I need to pick up some red, some brown, probably another ball of white. Sprue cutters, and what else? There's one other thing. Fuck, I don't know. And you know the fun part is, as soon as I do all that, I'm going to fucking find my art box. And I'm just going to have 2 copies of everything. Well, I guess with paint, that's not the biggest fucking deal on the planet, because I'm probably going to go through it all anyway. Especially when I get to the Rhino. Which I think I'm actually going to bust out now just to get rid of the rest of this black. I'm not going to do anything. Well, I could paint him, couldn't I? Back to black, my friend. Hope you enjoyed your color change for a little bit. I swear to God, like, this paint is naturally watered somehow so that it's drying properly. That's the only thing I can come to. Like, it already has the sufficient, like, it's not got water in it, but it's got, like, enough moisture that it's drying evenly. I don't know. I really like army paints. Like, beyond that one ultramarine I got that was, like, not the right blue, but that was mostly on me assuming that ultramarine meant ultramarine. Like, I like the squeeze bottle. And I like that, like, those, like, the little jars that Citadel uses, they dry out really fast. And it's super easy to waste the paint, especially when if you're wiping the paint back into the jar, like the excess. off your brush, it's just going to end up sticking there, and it's eventually going to fuse the top shut. And I've got a whole bunch of Citadel paint downstairs that just completely dried throughout the years. That's worthless now. So yeah, I like this bottle. That's a nice bottle, you know. Which again, you don't really think about logistics of paint bottles that often. It's nice to consider different things every once in a while, in my opinion. So we're going to use up this black on the Rhino. Start getting him back into his red or his natural coloration. We're going to pop that bronze and start doing some embellishments on the Terminators and get them looking real pretty. When I go and get a new bottle of super glue, that was the last thing I used, is some super glue. I've got this container here just full of bits off the Rhino that I'm probably just going to glue to these guys and use as some special stuff to kind of make them look a little more chaosy and edgy. Nothing excessive. Maybe like a spike on the backpack or a spike on the pauldron or something. Yeah. I'm really bummed because this Rhino took me forever to get to that nice fucking blue. Yeah, I really could have just lazed out into like a Night Lord deal, but again, I just don't know what the Night Lord's even going to look like when the Codex finally comes out, if anything, you know, so. Not to mention Battle Shock is just kind of a weird gimmicky thing right now. Alright. What is he doing? Is he fighting a giant thing again?
I'm good. I'm good. Doing fine. But when you're moving full speed,
Goodness. Okay. Start working on these boys here. I also have a kind of a problem, particularly with Chaos Terminators. This guy's got a power weapon. He's got a power sword, which I think if he's still a Terminator Sergeant, it would have to be a cursed weapon. It's the same with my Lord. They don't have power weapons anymore, so he's one thing. And then these other four guys have fists, but you can only have 3. Now, one of them can be a chain fist, I think. And I think I can bullshit this if I still have the bit. I may not have that bit, and it may be killing me now. I thought I had in my little tiny pieces a tiny, teeny bolter bayonet chain sword thing. It was like a triangle, just a sliver of plastic. But I was gonna glue that to a fist and call it a chain fist, but I don't think I have it. Which is just fine, I guess. Because that would also correspond to my other problem, which is the fact that I have this flamer that I'm planning to glue to somebody. I'm not entirely sure who yet. Maybe this guy, just kind of, I don't know, do that or like that. I haven't really figured this out. Like, I'm not going to cut his arm off, and I'm not going to cut his arm up, because apparently Terminator arms are really hard to come by right now. But one of these guys, probably him, is going to end up with a fucking spear. Like this. And we're going to call it a cursed weapon. And it's pretty fucking cursed, all things considered. Because I can't have I can't have 4 power fists. I can only have 3. This is not an issue if I go, well, actually, no, I'd have to have 2. Because whoever gets the flamer, well, no, it'd work. He would be the flamer guy then. But this would work out if I just went and bought a Chaos Terminator outright and threw him in, and he's already got like an accursed weapon. That would fix everything, I think. I'm really rough on these damn brushes. Okay, where do we want to start? I guess we'll start with the pauldrons and just kind of do just like we did with the Ultramarines, give them a nice little edge.
Remind me, there are no iframes in this game, right? None. Right. Okay. Right. Also, what up, Simple? What are you doing? One clip. It's just one simple clip.
We'll paint this bronze, why not?
Oh my god.
I don't know if this is just a me thing, but I'm horribly rough on my brushes. Like, all these bristles are so out of the way. We can paint these too. Just kind of give it a nice embellishment of bronze. I keep saying bronze, but I think it really is supposed to be gold. But you know what? I like the bronze. I really need to play Armored Core. No, what I really need to do is finish fucking Ghost of Tsushima. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be like another 20 fucking streams before I'm even close to that.
My fingers hurt from fucking using the pistols, by the way. Come celebrate iHert's 27th anniversary with 27% off.
Yeah, that's looking like something.
Go to iHeart.com for big deals, discounts, and cool in every box. iHeart, we make wellness better.
Let's do this kind of back rim here, too.
Simple, effective deodorant. It's not a myth. It's made.
I think that looked really nice. Wish I could see what I'm doing. Man, I just finished reading Dungeon Meshi. Let me tell you. That is a good fucking series. Good shit. If you've not read it, I highly recommend it. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It's good shit. It's wholesome, heartwarming. It doesn't really fall into as many of like the regular shonen tropes as other series have. It definitely feels like a unique experience. I actually need to go back and read it from the start because like I did like normally what I do with manga that hasn't completed or concluded yet is I'll read up to a point or read up to it's finished and then try and eyeball exactly where I left off when I come back to it. And I did that this time and I didn't realize it had actually wrapped up. So I forgot more than a few details of who's doing what. Yeah, I think he's looking pretty damn sparkly right now. I'm digging it.
Using my exact strategy of staying close, like circle strafing with pistols, using the songbird, and then pile drive or pile bunker pile, whatever it's called, private pile. HP was about the same.
Oh, I do need a gunmetal, don't I? I don't have any.
Vinny's build was just tailor made to fuck this thing up. Well, if I had to even do another 50% of that thing's health, I think I could have done it if I was just a little bit better at the game with this build, because this build is good. It was way more aggro pre-nerf. You bring just the right weapons for the fight somehow. I did that with the last one too, with Altius.
Just a little bit of dry brushing on the helmet too. I don't really want to dedicate anything to the helmet yet. But I think that's pretty nice. What else? I guess this thing could be gold. Yeah, you know what? I think he's pretty fucking sparkly. Pretty blingy. I dig it. Definitely a different feeling than what he just had as a Ultramarine Terminator. This guy's just off his fucking rocker. Which honestly kind of makes it easier. Figured the pistols would be good.
First machine gun. Oh, I'm interested in that. New shotgun. Another shotgun. It looks crazy. Bazooka. Bazooka. Stun bomb launcher. Pulse gun. The Zimmerman is the meta bulky weapon. Let's see. Well, I'm kind of curious about that because it looks cool. It's first. I don't want full auto. It's pretty neat. Slower, but it's high powered. Oh god, the Gatling gun. MGs and assault rifles were buffed in the patch, I know. Someone said something about Ludlow. What are you talking about there? Oh, this. What's the look? Do I have to buy a second Ludlow?
Arena Combat Aptitude Evaluation Program, number 21, Ring D.
Here's 20.
Call sign, Ring Go.
Bit of a longer stream tonight.
Yeah.
Battery's doing better.
Stable evaluation.
This guy's got a knee pad. Again, some of these guys have knee pads, some of these don't. That's really weird. I would feel like a knee joint's kind of an imperative thing to have on a suit of power armor.
Fucking guy. Uh-oh. Oh, he's got the thing, he's got the thing. Wrong button, man, wrong button. Whoa, skin my teeth right there.
Target destroyed. Concluding evaluation. Well done.
Pistols are better. But those are better all-rounders. Pistols drop ammo too quick. But for arena, they're fucking great. What, I'm just curious, what amount of respect would you lose from me, chat, if I use dual Zims? I'm gonna call them Zims, because I'm gonna pretend like I know the meta, and like I know the game really well. They're fun. I like fun.
Fuck, that pain is I did pain his fucking eyes, god damn it.
Oh, chat, real quick, there's a thing, It is really good. Okay, I gotta look into that.
Arena Combat Aptitude Evaluation Program. Number 20. Rank D. Subject AC. Reconfig. Call sign E5 Hawkins.
Okay, what I need to learn how to do is like lock on to a target properly. There we go.
Concluding evaluation.
Honestly, the shotguns are awesome. I like my pistols better. Cool Zimmermans are kind of a build on their own. Pistols are actually better for your particular playstyle. I'm sure I'm gonna end up trying lots of different things, but
Aptitude Evaluation Program.
I'm enjoying the pistols.
D.
I want to try dual miniguns at some point, but I need to earn more money for that.
Subject AC. Headbringer. Call sign
Headbringer.
Commencing evaluation.
Main system activating combat mode.
Target destroyed.
Yep. Yeah, that might be a little bit of an overkill.
On that.
Don't forget to kick. I always forget to kick. You could upgrade your generator. There's one that's flat better in the store. I mean, it's heavier. Flat better? I mean, there seems to be pros and cons. Which one are you picking up, chat number? The 20C? It's a little heavy. Numbers scare me, chat. I don't know what this. The SMG you saw is full auto burst. You can hold the trigger. Interesting. Still good. I mean, seems like it's gonna work at some decent energy charge. The output is good. I see no problems with this. Well, I mean, there's a little weight. Sure, let's see how it works. Check out new legs.
Arena Combat Aptitude Evaluation Program, number 18, rank D, final evaluation. Subject AC, Shinobi, call sign, Roku Monson.
Roku Munson.
Commencing evaluation.
That doesn't sound good. It's like Vinny's about to get rolled.
Wrong button.
I think I'm gonna have to watch this whole stream over.
Final Fantasy.
Because actually I'm really interested in AC, and I'm gonna see what his pistol thing is. I really like the idea of pistols and shotguns.
These submachine guns are pretty good. I don't know if I like them better than my pistols. Oops, wrong. I mean, fuck. I'll try him though. I'll try him again. Also, Chad is saying that this guy's a bit of a nightmare, so I'm not.
I was gonna say,
The weapons are bad.
that sounds like one of those dudes where you think he's gonna be a cakewalk, but he turns out to fucking roll you. Okay. Let's get his little eye thingy too here. Give it a gentle brushing on that side. Alright. Let's see how these guys look here.
Yeah, we didn't want that. We didn't want that.
I think they look a little bit more like Chaos E. What I'd really like to make them look like is the Cataphracts and Horus Heresy. Those guys look fucking sick. I'd really like to find some of those one day. But I think those are actually, if I'm not mistaken, they're the same models as... Oh shit, I forgot the sword. Same models as the... Of all damn things,
Terminal is black and you can't heal.
the Custodes Terminators, which would be ironic. Alright, and I can't do anything about a sword because I have my gunmetal. So I'm gonna have to wait on that. Alright, so I just hit 10%, so we are done for the evening. I'm gonna do a little bit more painting on my own after I plug my phone in. And we'll probably see you next week. I'm going to, as always, try, I say try, to do some streams. I always say I'm going to try and do things more regular. I always say I'm going to try and have a schedule. So this time I'm just going to say I'm going to try and do something next week. But yeah, thank you for watching. I have 2 squads, a Rhino, and a Dreadnought left. See you next week.